Hey guys, I'm your host Jose and welcome to the RPO, where each week I'll be previewing and analyzing the upcoming games for your local New York Jets, New York Giants, plus the 3 other nationally televised games of the week. Due to COVID rescheduling, this week we're starting off on Sunday at 1 p.m. when the Las Vegas Raiders travel to East Rutherford to take on the Jets at MetLife. The Raiders come into this week off the back of a very surprising and disappointing result, as they got completely dominated 43-6 by the Atlanta Falcons. Overall, the Raiders just had a really bad and sloppy game against Atlanta. They couldn't get star running back Josh Jacobs going, as he was only able to muster 27 rushing yards for the game. And the team turned the ball over way too many times, as they turned the ball over 5 times, including a pick six to Atlanta linebacker Deion Jones. When you take a look at their defensive performance, the Raiders didn't do that bad against the Falcons. They gave up only 304 yards for the game and were even able to pick off Matt Ryan. The issue was that the Falcons kept starting with a short field due to the 5 turnovers on offense, and this allowed Atlanta to take advantage of the short field and score on a majority of their offensive possessions. Well, another week and another loss for the Jets, as they lost to the Dolphins 20-3 last week. The countdown is down to 5. The Jets have just 5 chances remaining to get their first win of the season and not finish with a horrendous 0-16 record. They started off with a 3-0 lead against the Dolphins after a Sergio Castillo field goal, but they were stagnant for the rest of the game on offense as they didn't pick up another point. Sam Darnold had another lackluster performance, finishing the day with 197 yards and 2 interceptions. Running back Frank Gore had a decent game on the ground as he had 18 carries for 74 yards, and on defense, the Jets were able to get pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick as they sacked him 4 times and were able to get 9 QB hits on him. Even though the Raiders will be without Josh Jacobs, I think they'll get back into the win column this week as I'm picking them to win 28-7. On Sunday afternoon, the New York Giants travel to CenturyLink to take on Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. I think most people would tell me I'm crazy if I said in Week 12 the New York Giants would be in first place in the NFC East and in the hunt for a playoff spot after their horrid 1-7 start to the season. But yet, here we are. The Giants have won 3 games in a row, and they sit atop the NFC East going into their West Coast trip to Seattle. The Giants won a tough and gritty game last week against the Bengals that had a slim 19-17 final score. The biggest headline coming away from this game, however, was the hamstring injury that caused QB Daniel Jones to lead the game. Before his exit, Jones was having a decent game as well, as he went 16 for 27 for 213 yards. On this win streak, Jones has been playing clean games and not turning the ball over, and it's resulted in the Giants coming away with victories. Unfortunately, due to that injury, Daniel Jones will not play on Sunday against the Seahawks, and backup QB Colt McCoy will get the start. The defense has also been stepping up and playing well in this win streak. Against the Bengals, they sacked Brandon Allen twice and hit him 8 times, and linebacker Nico Langas came away with an interception as well. The Seahawks enter this week sitting atop the NFC West at an 8-3 record. Last week, they had a 23-17 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a solid outing against the Eagles. Russell Wilson threw for 230 yards and a touchdown, and wide receiver DK Metcalf had yet another explosive performance as he had 10 receptions for 177 yards. And in his return from injury, running back Chris Carson ran for 41 yards and a touchdown. On defense, safety Jamal Adams had the standout performance of the night as he led the team with 9 tackles and also had a sack, a pass deflection, and 2 QB hits. Defensive back Quandre Diggs also came away with an interception for the game. This was going to be a very tough matchup for the Giants going in already, but now with them not having Daniel Jones for this game, it's even that more difficult. So that's why I'm siding with the Seahawks to win this with a final score of 24-10. Since this week got shuffled around due to COVID, I'm going to cover the 2 Monday games and the Tuesday night game this week. The first game of the Monday doubleheader is between the Washington football team and the Pittsburgh Steelers at Heinz Field. This matchup is between 2 of the top defenses in the league, as the Pittsburgh defense is number 3 in the league and Washington has a number 4 defense in the league. Plus, both defenses also get after the QB, as Pittsburgh leads the league in sacks and Washington is not too far behind in 3rd. Washington comes into this week after blowing out the Cowboys on Thanksgiving 41-16. It was a close game going into the 4th quarter, but then Washington scored 21 unanswered points to close out the game. QB Alex Smith had an okay game as he threw for 149 yards and a touchdown, plus an interception. But the main star on offense for the game was rookie running back Antonio Gibson, as he had 115 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. breakout star receiver Terry McLaurin also had a good game as he had 7 catches for 92 yards. On defense, second-year defensive end Montez Sweat capped off the team's all-around performance with a pick 6 in the fourth to close out the game. The Steelers enter this game atop the AFC North and are the sole undefeated team remaining in the NFL. This past Wednesday, they beat a shorthanded Ravens team 19-14 in what was another gritty battle between two stout AFC North defenses. TJ Watt had yet another stellar performance as he led the team in tackles with 7, and he also had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits. Plus, corner Joe Hayden also got the scoring kicked off for the Steelers as he had a pick 6 in the first quarter to put them up 6-0. The defense did lose a key player in this game, however, as they lost premier pass rusher Bud Dupree for the season as he tore his ACL against the Ravens. But the Steelers defense is also regaining interior D lineman Stephon Tuitt as he will be activated off the COVID list in time for the game on Monday. On offense, the Steelers kept with their newfound air raid offense as Big Ben threw the ball a whopping 51 times. And he had 266 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Eric Ebron was his top target on the day as he had 7 catches for 54 yards, but rookie sensation Chase Claypool wasn't short behind Ebron as he himself had 6 catches for 52 yards. Plus, receiver Juju Smith-Schuster caught a touchdown in the fourth quarter, which ended up being the game-sealing score. Ultimately, I think the Steelers will remain undefeated and will pull this one out 24-17. On Monday night, the Buffalo Bills will travel to Arizona to play the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are not playing in Arizona because Santa Clara has banned contact sports for the time being, so the remaining games will be in Glendale at State Farm Stadium, which is the home of the Arizona Cardinals. The Bills lead the AFC East with an 8-3 record, and last week they defeated the LA Chargers 27-17. Josh Allen had a slow day at the office last week though, as he didn't post up his usual yardage output per game, as last week he only threw for 157 yards and a touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown and an interception and a fumble on the day. Rookie wide receiver Gabriel Davis led the team in receiving as he had 3 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown. Davis's touchdown of the game came on a 20-yard trick play pass from wide receiver Cole Beasley. Running back Devin Singletary had a decent game on the ground as he rushed for 82 yards. And on defense, Pro Bowl corner Tre'Davious White came away with an interception, plus linebacker AJ Klein led the team with 14 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 3.5 tackles for loss. San Francisco kept their playoff hopes alive last week after a game-winning field goal by Robbie Gould as time expired gave them the slim 23-20 victory over the LA Rams. The 49ers' defensive performance helped carry them to the victory, as on offense, Raheem Mostert's 8-yard touchdown rush in the first quarter was the team's only offensive touchdown for the game. The 49er defense forced 4 turnovers, including a pick 6 from D tackle Javon Kinlaw, and veteran Pro Bowl corner Richard Sherman led the team in tackles with 7 and came away with an interception as well. DN Kerry Hyder also had a solid performance as he had 2 sacks and forced a fumble. On offense, Nick Mullins threw for 252 yards and an interception, and second-year wide receiver Deebo Samuel was his top target on the day as he racked up 11 receptions for 133 yards. As I mentioned, Raheem Mostert scored the offense's only touchdown of the game, and he tacked on 43 rushing yards on top of that. I'm going to pick the 49ers to pull off the upset with a slim 24-21 final. To wrap up Week 12, the Dallas Cowboys will travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens Tuesday night. As I mentioned earlier, the Cowboys are coming off of a blowout 41-16 loss to the Washington football team on Thanksgiving. Andy Dalton had a decent game, throwing for 215 yards, but he did also have an interception. Amari Cooper had a good game as well, as he had 6 receptions for 112 yards and a touchdown. On the other hand, running back Ezekiel Elliott didn't have the best of games, as he had 10 carries for only a measly 32 yards, and he also fumbled the ball. On defense, linebacker Donovan Wilson and safety Xavier Rhodes led the team in tackles as they each had 10. Linebacker Jalen Smith also came away with an interception on the game as well. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the Ravens are coming off of a 19-14 loss to the Steelers. The Ravens kept this game competitive, even though they were missing a multitude of starters due to COVID. The big blow to them was not having starting QB Lamar Jackson. So in place, backup Robert Griffin III got the nod for the Ravens. RG3 struggled mightily against the Steelers' stout defense as he was only able to muster up 33 yards through the air, and he threw a pick 6 to Steelers cornerback Joe Hayden. RG3 was able to get it going a bit on the ground, however, as he was the team's leading rusher in the game with 68 yards. But RG3's day was cut short after suffering a hamstring injury midway through the fourth quarter, which saw rookie sixth-round pick Trace McSorley come in. And he did throw it on a dime when he connected with wide receiver Marquise Brown for his 70-yard touchdown score to bring the Ravens within 5 points. On defense, safety Chuck Clark led the team with 13 tackles, and linebacker Tyus Bowser came away with an interception as well. Even though the Ravens will still be missing some players due to COVID, I'm still siding with them to win with a final score of 21-10. And those are my picks for the week. Tune into the RPO next week to see what my picks are for Week 14.